Hi and welcome to another art tutorial. Within this session we're going to actually create some beautiful textured backgrounds by layering different papers. As you can see, I have a towel on the bottom, my trusty art towel, and that's because this is going to get really quite messy. Make sure that your surface is covered, whether you've got newspaper or a towel, make sure that that's protected. Now what I have here is some unrushi paper, but you can also use rice paper. With the onrushi you've got elements throughout the paper, different fibres, which give it another texture as well. I have watercoloured paper, so that's that there. I have a bucket of water. I also have some glue and some inks to create this. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the watercolour paper and I'm going to get my glue and cover the entire surface with glue. Make sure you've got a good amount on there. We don't want it to dry too quickly and we want to make sure that the entire surface is actually covered. Right to the sides, don't forget the corners. Like so. Great. So that's my first step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my container of water. So this is my container here. Move my watercolour paper out of the way for the moment. And I'm going to get my onrushi paper and I'm going to wet it. Great. If you have a spray bottle, you can also use a spray bottle. It can be a little bit easier that way, but this is fine as well. Okay, so now my entire piece of paper is wet. So let's remove the water to give us a bit more space. And with my paper, it's actually quite firm, so it's easy to move around. And I'm going to actually scrunch it into a ball. What I want to do is make some creases in the paper. Once it's scrunched, we'll bring it out again, very carefully. Great. Bring back the watercoloured paper, and then very loosely place our onrushi paper or our rice paper on top. And I'm just going to move that slightly to make sure that we do have some wrinkles in there. When you're happy with it, you can get some paper towel and simply pat it on top. You need to be careful that you're not smoothing out those wrinkles. But what I want to do is make it fairly flat, keeping those wrinkles in. And if your glue is still damp underneath, you can move the paper around slightly, like so. Fantastic, and that's all there is to it. Now what you can do, you might want to simply leave it like this and leave bits of paper hanging off of the side, depending on what sort of effect you're looking for. Or you might leave it to dry and you might cut off those edges so it's nice and clean. Or you might simply fold them across and just leave them behind as well. If you've got a bit of glue, then you can put them there permanently. So it really depends on what sort of effect that you're looking for in particular. Now this is one that I had created earlier, because what you do need to do is make sure that you do leave it to dry. So this is my dried surface here, and as you can see it has kept a lot of the wrinkles intact as well. And what I want to do now is I want to paint it, okay? And what we should get is the darker colours on the wrinkles in here. So I'm going to use yellow and blue to create some greens, and I'm going to use the yellow and the blues to highlight that as well. You can of course use watercolour or acrylic, but I'm going to use the inks because I really like the vibrancy that you get with the inks. So, again, these inks are great because they have eyedroppers. And what I'm going to do is put a bit of water in my container here and put the blue in. There we go, just watering it down a little bit. I'll do the same with the yellow. I have my water in my container, that's a little bit too much. There we go. Yellow in there. And of course it's completely up to you how watered down you make it or don't make it. You could of course apply using wet or dry brushes as well. It really depends on what sort of effect you're looking for. Then I'm going to do the same but put the yellow and the blue together, and of course that gives us the green. There we go. Okay, so from here I'm going to use a flat brush and I'm simply going to grab the colours that I want and paint those over the top. Now of course I didn't have to water those down. If you wanted to, you could leave the colours very vibrant, like so, to create different effects. It is also really great to experiment with a few different techniques. So again, with the paper towel, you could move colours or dab colours to create different effects. Again, it just depends on what look that you are really looking for in your work. So I'm going to continue with this now, and I will post a photo of the finished product on the website for you to see. Do give this a go. It's, as you can see, a very quick and easy little experiment that you can do, but you can create some beautiful backgrounds to layer on your paintings. So a different sort of texture to create some interest into your work. So thank you. Bye.